Good evening, Norcal Karters. It's Monday, February 22nd, and we have a lot going on, and I'm going to stick to my notes tonight. I won't ramble too much, because one, there's a lot of events. Two, I'm getting ready to go out of town. Three, there's a lot of stuff to cover. It's people are ready to race. I know Prairie City has been very busy. I was out there last week. But last weekend they had their two-stroke event. And when I was out there on Thursday or Friday, let's see, I was out there Thursday, and the inner pits was filled. I mean, there was a lot of karts out there. There had to be 20 or 30 karts on the track on a Thursday with people getting ready for the race weekend at Prairie City this past weekend. So the Durbans are doing a great job out there. There's a lot of good feedback happening with people just praising the hard work they're putting in and supporting the local track. So it's nice to have a Central Valley track that's getting a lot of support. And there's just a lot of good things happening out there. And I'm going to mention Prairie City Karting. One, because I've been going out there. I was going out there before they sponsored the calendar. But they will get extra attention like all of our other sponsors do as well, because they are sponsors of the calendar. And plus, this whole podcast started with trying to help grow the sport locally. And when you see a club doing something, and I'm pretty good at running my mouth, so I can run my mouth and help promote it. So kudos to the Prairie City crew out there. I know you had a very successful race weekend as well, so that was good. Saw a number of videos on Facebook that some of your participants were sharing, so that's a lot of fun. I know Henry Damus, he was out there with his 125 crew, and he's basically trying to emulate what the 80 guys did a couple years ago. Just looking for an opportunity to get the, let's call them non-compliant. That doesn't mean show up with your big bores and everything else, but, you know, your Hondas, your older ICCs. Henry's on a Vortex engine, and he wants to get a community together of the 125 guys that feel comfortable showing up to the local tracks out here in the valley without having to go all the way to Sonoma. And I know Henry went to Sonoma last year a few times. But his group is growing. I'm going to talk about the 80 group, the NorCal 80cc Championship. I just received an email from them with their schedule. So they are not on my calendar yet. I just received the schedule, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm going out of town, so I'm not going to have time to get their calendar on my calendar until I get back, but I will run down their dates. So again, that's that 80cc shifter group, and they're 75 plus strong. So they've worked hard at it for the past couple of years to get the community going on the 80 group, and again, the 80s were really displaced. It's a great engine package. They're getting a little harder to find as far as if you want top-notch quality engines, because the 80s have been out of production for a while. But there's still some good pieces out there. There's also some very reputable engine builders that are also in the area. I was actually just at Swede Tech today, and I was talking to Rainey, and he was just kind of shaking his head, just saying, man, we're getting more and more 80 work. It's like, where is this coming from? And not to tell him I told you so, but last year him and I were talking about it. It's like, I think it's going to have a comeback. But, I kind of was cheating because I was at the track. I was out at Davis a lot, and I saw these guys starting to come out to the track more and more frequently. And what do you know? 2021, it should be pretty solid for a lot of the race groups and hopefully a lot of the tracks. And again, support your local clubs. Our podcast theme of 2020 was, Year of the Club. So we're going to continue with that. This year, 2021, our theme for the podcast is the awards. So again, if you're a race promoter, if you're a local club and you have some cool awards that you're giving out for your championship, let me know. I'll get it on the podcast. And that's going to be kind of my filler content. So when I have a week that's really not that busy, as far as with race events or any news coming up, I'm going to start filling it in with the different race promoters that are offering prizes. I had Andy Saisman on a couple of times, and in a couple of our podcasts, we ran down his sponsors list and the teams that have supported Challenge of the Americas. And his website is challengekarting.com. Again, Andy and Challenge Karting, they are a sponsor of Norcal Karters, and they're going to get extra attention. So I try to be fair that I cover everybody, but again, the sponsors will receive more attention because they're the ones that are helping fund the podcast, the website, and everything that goes into it. Those of you that are out there that do this kind of stuff, you understand it kind of gets old when the fees keep coming out of your personal pockets when you're not trying to make a living out of it. You're just trying to get the information out there. And for me at this point with Norcal Karters, that's the goal. It's make it self-sufficient, not make a living out of it, but promote karting in a positive manner, promote the events, promote the tracks, but without pulling money out of my pocket. So if you feel like you'd like to support what we're doing, reach out to me. We have a number of different packages. If you have a particular club that you're a member of and they're not getting enough attention that you feel that you would like to highlight, sponsor that club. And we had a couple anonymous donors last year that sponsored a couple of different clubs. And we just bumped them up the list and said, okay, this year your club is sponsored because an anonymous donation came in on your behalf. Or if you're a local business and you want to reach out to other kart racers and you want to target those racers, reach out to me. We have a number of different options available to you for sponsorship. And everything for Norcal Karters goes directly back into Norcal Karters. I'm working on better videos on the YouTube channel, working on better content, maybe more trackside type stuff. So there's a lot of things that can be done. There's a lot of things in the works, but it all takes time and it also takes money. So if you're interested in supporting the cause, reach out to me. So let's see. We highlighted Prairie City, which is pckarting.com. We talked real briefly about Challenge of the Americas, which is challengekarting.com. Team GFC Karting, which is gfckarting.com. They will be down in Fontana this week. I'll actually be down at Fontana this week, coincidentally, just working under his tent with the Wick family. So that should be a lot of fun. I worked with them in Phoenix, and it's always a lot of hard work at these national races, but it was really fun to work hands on with them. The only downside was the weather, and that was out of everybody's control. It's the tire mounting when it comes to rain slick. What's the weather going to do? But not a complaint, just pointing it out. So Challenge of the Americas is coming up this week. And you know what? Last time I text Andy, I was asking him for pre-entries. And sometimes I text him a little bit too soon. And again, Andy's been on our show a few times, and he's mentioned that there's a weird window when it comes to pre-entries where, a month before the event, he'll have like 2 or 3, like hardly anything. And then 24 hours before the deadline, there's like the floodgates open and everyone enters all at the same time. So when I reached out to Andy before the deadline, which was last weekend, they were already over 125 pre-entries. And again, this goes back now over a week ago. So before the deadline was actually cut off. And so he was pretty happy about that. And Andy, if you're listening, which you're probably not, you're probably loading your trailer and getting ready for your event. If you're listening, just chime in on the chat line and tell us what you have for a final count of entries. That'd be great. But yeah, round 2 at Cal Speed, also known as Fontana, is round 2, Challenge of the Americas, and that is the West Coast Rock Cup USA series. So a lot of drivers will be down there. Andy had said on one of the podcasts that Cal Speed is usually good for a 20% bump in entries, just because of the facility and the location to a lot of racers. So Phoenix was, it was a well-run event. And it seemed like the pits were full. So I didn't really catch up with Andy down there because I was spinning wrenches, but I know there was a lot of karts on the grids. So that was a good thing. A lot of great racing action that was down there. So hopefully that gets replicated at Fontana. And again, that's this coming weekend. And I already mentioned it. Gary Carlton, he'll be down there with his team. Now, if you're a local shop or a shop a little bit out of the area, and I'm mentioning events, and you're going to those events, but I didn't mention you, again, Gary's a sponsor of the calendar. So if you go to norcalkarters.com, click on the calendar link, you can see his name on the calendar. You click on the event that he's going to, and the very first line is his website. Then a brief description of, kind of about Gary, just real quick and brief on the calendar itself. So if you're a local shop and you want that same attention, reach out to me, and we can get you on the calendar. And for those that don't know, I include the website link. So when you click on my calendar and you click on the description, the website link is the first thing you see. And so I'm looking at Gary's right now. It's a GFC Karting, Challenge of the Americas. Where? Cal Speed Karting Center on Cherry Avenue. I have it linked on Google Maps. Description, first line, his website, gfckarting.com. And then it goes into the description. So GFC Karting is a sponsor of Norcal Karters. In 2020, Gary Carlton was the first kart shop or the first kart shop and race team to approach Norcal Karters about putting their race calendar on our calendar. And then I go into a little bit of history on Gary within the description. So if you find value in that and you're a kart shop, again, reach out to me. I think you'll find our sponsorship packages are way too affordable for the amount of attention I will give you. It's going to be all year long. I do these podcasts. I try to do them every single week. Last year, I think I did a total of 70 podcasts. So it kind of averages out. Sometimes I'll miss a weekly show, but then I double or triple up just depending on the guests I have or the content coming through. So there's lots of opportunities to have your name heard over the podcast. And so February 22nd is right now. This coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Challenge of the Americas at Fontana. Click on the Challenge of the Americas link on norcalkarters.com. Boom. Click on his page. Takes you right to challengekarting.com. Same with GFC Karting. So that's this weekend. And then we have... I'm pausing because I know I have an NCK event coming up March 8th, which is a Monday. So on my calendar, it's a little bit skewed off a little bit, but I'll hit that one here in a second. So March 6th and 7th, Prairie City, Race 2. That is going to be their 4-stroke weekend. So again, if you go to our calendar, click on the Prairie City event, first thing that pops up, March 6th and 7th, where All-Star Karting at Prairie City Kart Track, White Rock Road. links right to Google Maps. Description, first thing, pckarting.com. And on their description, I actually took you to their race classes. And the reason I did that is because they broke up their 4-stroke and their 2-stroke weekend. So on March 6th and 7th, 4-stroke weekend plus 80 shifters. So again, 4-stroke weekend plus 80 shifters. That's March 6th and 7th. Monday. By now, if I say Monday 3 times, you should just assume it's an NCK race. So Monday, March 8th. NCK Road Racing. They will be at Thunder Hill on the Thunder Hill East track. So Thunder Hill East, Monday, March 8th. And I was speaking with Mark Morrison the other day. When I get back from Fontana, I will have Mark or another road racer on. I was trying to get Sean Bond on, but he's out of town. If there's another road racer that ran Speed Vegas last year and you'd like to be on the podcast, reach out to me. I have a lot of information to cover about the Speed Vegas event. I'm not trying to jump over the March 8th event at Thunder Hill, but the Speed Vegas event is going to be a big race for NCK. It's going to be a big nut for them to crack as far as the track fee. They're racing under the lights. So that April 10th and the 11th Speed Vegas race, we're going to have a lot of promotion on that after the Fontana event this weekend. And like I said, I'll have a couple of guests on that actually raced the track last year to give you their insight. But you can go to nckroadracing.com. One, to register for the March 8th race, but then also to find out information about Speed Vegas, which is happening April 10th and the 11th. And yes, NCK Road Racing, they are sponsors of Norcal Karters. And so they're going to get the extra attention as well because they're sponsors. So again, I think I'm being very transparent about how that's going to work out. But check it out. I mean, it's I don't want to overlap the March 8th event because I know Mark said there was a lot of interest and a lot of entries coming in already for the March 8th stuff. But that big one's going to be that Speed Vegas event. So again, in April. So get ready for some information next week. March 13th and 14th, Prairie City. PCkarting.com. 2-stroke weekend. So that's going to be the 2-stroke weekend with the 125 shifters. So that's going to be race number 2. And again, that's March 13th and 14th. And today is National Margarita Day. I know I'm going backwards. But I'm going backwards because I just saw in here March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. And today is National Margarita Day. And every year I miss it. For those of you that know me, I love my tequila. I love tequila. And I love a good margarita. And for some reason, I can never remember that Margarita Day is February 22nd. I never put it on my calendar. If I wasn't going out of town, I would be scrambling around right now trying to do a fire pit and inviting people over for a margarita night. But being that I'm leaving town tomorrow, that's not appropriate, and I just don't have the energy for it right now. But maybe when I get back, we'll do a margarita night around the fire pit. So, how'd I get segued onto that? Oh, because I was talking about St. Patrick's Day on March 17th. Then we have March 20th and 21st. That's the first round of the Sonoma Rock Cup race. So, March 20th and the 21st, first round of Sonoma Rock Cup. And GFC Karting will be in attendance for that one. And again, why am I mentioning Gary Carlton out of all the shops? Because he's a sponsor. That's why. And you can find more information on the Rock Sonoma event at SanzarioKarting.com. Why am I mentioning their website? Because they're a sponsor too. Rock Sonoma is a sponsor. So, Sanzario, SANZARU, karting with a K.com. And their first event is going to be March 20th and the 21st. And that same weekend, on Sunday, March 21st, Blue Max will have their first race. So you could check out the Blue Max stuff. They're going to have their race on that weekend as well on that Sunday. Let's see here. Then the following weekend at Sonoma. So my guess, Sonoma's going to be slamming in March. I'm going to guess they're going to be pretty busy that 13th and 14th weekend for people practicing, getting ready for the first round of Sonoma Rock Cup, race number 1. And then you have March 26th, 27th, and 28th. Challenge of the Americas is going to wrap up their 3-race series on the Sonoma track. And GFC Karting, he'll be there. So Gary's going to be busy. Gary's always busy. So Challenge of the Americas, March 26th, 27th, and 28th. And again, challengekarting.com. And Gary will be there. And then the following week, April 4th, Easter Sunday. So April 4th is Easter Sunday. And you know what? I'm in April. I'm going to do one more week of April. Rock Sonoma, race number 2, will be April 10th and 11th. Let's see. NCK Road Racing, the Speed Vegas event I just blabbered about for about 5 minutes. That is also taking place on April 10th and the 11th. And for the Speed Vegas event, again, it's a night race. So you can go to nckroadracing.com for the official schedule, but they're doing about 2.5 hours of practice. So practice is going to start at approximately 6 p.m. on Saturday. And then they're going to run 2.5 hours of practice. So you're going to have time to get acclimated to the track, figure out your gearing, figuring out your jetting. And then they're going to start going into the races. And what they're doing 5... I want to make sure I explain this correctly. So definitely go to nckroadracing.com to look at their official information. But if you pay for a single entry, it's $375. That gives you 2.5 hours of practice plus 5 race events. And they're doing all the race events separately. So they're not doing heats. They're not doing a cumulative score. They're just 5 separate race events. And so you get that, the 5 events and the 2.5 hours of practice for $375. Each additional class that you enter is $100. Again, go to nckroadracing.com for full information on that. But that should be a really exciting event. If you've never raced under the lights, it's a whole different perspective. I don't even know how to explain it. I've raced under the lights in Las Vegas at the Xplex, and I've raced under the lights at Kinsman Kart Club. Kinsman's probably a better track to use from my experience because I have a lot of laps there. And under the lights, it's I don't know how many laps I have at Kinsman Kart Club. I have no idea. It was one of my first clubs I ran at starting in 95. And so there's a lot of laps there. But I did 2 night races, and it was amazing how the different it's the same track. The only difference is lit up. And the way the shadows are cast across the track and the way the light worked, it felt like driving a whole different track. And I remember it was such a fun experience. It's my very, very first night race was in Las Vegas, and I remember being very nervous about it because I've never done it. And it's like, oh, what am I going to expect? And then Vegas, I did not have a million laps there, so that was at the old Xplex track, and that was a whole different, unique experience anyway because it was the Super Nats, so it's different in its own right. But at Kinsman, at one point, I knew every little bump on that track at one point. It's been a number of years since I've turned a lap out there, but doing it under the lights, it's it's funny how things change, and it's all mental. It's just a matter of adapting. So if you've never raced under the lights, that April 10th and 11th event for NCK Road Racing would be a great opportunity. If you've never done the road racing stuff and you're a little worried about under the lights, the Speed Vegas track is not your typical full-size road course. So that's probably a great track to kind of, cut your teeth road racing as well, because the speeds aren't as high and sustained as it would be at a full-size track like a Thunder Hill. So that should be a excuse me, that should be a pretty exciting event for NCK. And excuse me, I forgot my water. And let's see here. So that's April 10th and the 11th. And GFC Karting, Gary will be at the Sonoma Rock event. And so what else do we have? We have GFC Karting, we have NCK Road Racing, we have Rock Sonoma. All three of them are sponsors. Then it also looks like KPX is kicking off their series that weekend. And let's see here. That's probably a good ending spot for April, midway through. That gets us through March and April and the rest of February here. And so quick recap. I'm also going to highlight the 80s. So hold tight for a second. So this weekend, Challenge of the Americas, Fontana, Friday, February 26th, 27th, 28th. GFC Karting will be there. Next weekend, March 6th and 7th, Prairie City 4-stroke race weekend. That's race number 2. And they're going to be actually on the... I have it on here. Bear with me for a second. That is going to be the Grand Prix track. So, pretty sure Donald mentioned the track is now set up for Grand Prix as of today. So, I think he mentioned that on the Facebook. So, that is March 6th and 7th. Monday, March 8th, NCK Road Racing. And that'll be at Thunder Hill East. And let's see. March 13th and 14th, Prairie City 2-stroke weekend, race 2. Also on... Oh, I need to double check that. I have reverse modified perimeter. One of them I have Grand Prix, one of them I have reverse modified perimeter. I don't believe they're going to be changing the track layout between the two, so I need to clarify that with Donald. But if you go to pckarting.com, click on race classes, then one, you get a list of the classes that race on 4-stroke weekend. You get a list of classes that race on 2-stroke weekend. And then they also list the different track layouts for said weekend. So somewhere I have a typo in there. But again, pckarting.com, go check it out. And GFC Karting, he's going to be at Sonoma for the Sonoma Rock Cup, round 1. That is taking place March 20th and 21st. Blue Max Kart Club kicks off their season March 21st. And then the Challenge of the Americas wraps up the Challenge of the Americas series on March 26th through the 28th. And Gary Carlton will also be there. Now let me rewind. I mentioned the 80cc group. And what did I do with them? Hold tight. I just erased the page. I didn't erase it. I just closed it out. So they have their schedule. Let's see here. So again, the NorCal 80 Shifter Championship, their racing calendar is not live on Norcal Karters yet. It will be next week. But get a pen and paper ready. Write these down, okay? They also have a Facebook group page. If you have an 80 package and you want to go race or hang out with other 80 people, You can find them on Facebook under NorCal 80 Shifter Championship or NorCal 80 CC Shifters. So, here we go. March 14th, Prairie City. March 28th, Shasta Kart Club. Now, that's going to be a fun race, no points for the March 28th event. May 2nd, Blue Max will be a points race. June 27th, Prairie City. That will be a points race. Let's see here. August 14th, Reno. That is going to be a night race. I just spent 20 minutes talking about a night race for NCK. But August 14th, night race, and that's going to be for Reno. That's a no points. That's going to be a fun race. Let's see. That's August. September 19th, Blue Max Kart Club. And October 10th, Prairie City. And the makeup rain date, November 7th. Back up in case of rain. It's going to be at Prairie City or a Kinsman if they have races this year. So, that is the ADCC schedule for the ADCC Shifter Championship. And I will have all their information on the website when I get back next week. But that is their schedule. And there's another special event I have to mention because I just saw the posting on Facebook today. And that's the TrackMagic Super Rally. That's taking place June 4th, 5th, and 6th at Pat's Acres. So I will have multiple people on from the TrackMagic group, and we'll promote and highlight that event, but put it on your calendar. June 4th, 5th, and 6th, TrackMagic Super Rally, and that's taking place at Pat's Acres, and that's in Oregon, about 20 minutes south of Portland. Beautiful facility. If you heard my show before, I've rambled and rambled and rambled about Pat's Acres before. It's just a beautiful facility. The track is a lot of fun to drive. The family that operates the facility, they're hardcore karters. They go back many years. I've known them since the 90s, and I could talk about them all day long. So just get that on your calendar. And I think that's it for the show tonight. I still need to pack for my trip. That's a lot of racing events. Again, norcalkarters.com. Click on the calendar to find all the events. If I'm missing your events, contact me with a schedule so we can get you on there. If I'm not talking about your events enough, reach out to me about sponsorship packages. And if you're a local business and you'd like to market directly to karters, or you'd like to just support your local club and say, hey, I want my club to get this much mentions, then we have some sponsorships available for that as well. So everyone have a great night. If you're heading to SoCal, have a safe travels and a great trip. And if you're not going to Fontana this weekend, then go support a local track. Go to Prairie City, go to Blue Max, go to Kinsman, the Shasta Kart Club. I'm not sure if Stockton's open right now, but Reno. There's a lot of tracks in the area that you can go out to support. Sonoma. We're going to be talking about Sonoma a lot, apparently in March, because they have a lot of racing coming up. So there's a lot of tracks in the area. Go out and support them, and everyone have a great night.